Hey, greetings, Mike Coplitz here with you. This is one of what I'm calling Short Talk. It's an informal, short chat about a theological position or something for us to think about. I'm reading Amy Jill Levine's book on the stories of Jesus, which are about parables. And I was reading about the parable of the lost sheep, where the shepherd has 100 sheep and he loses one and he goes out to find the one. Now, when I learned about this in seminary, and I'm sure you've heard this in church, that this story is about that one lost sheep, and even some interpreters will call them Pharisees and Sadducees and all kinds of other things. Dr. Levine opened my eyes up to look at it in a slightly different way, a very profound way, and she said, why not think about the neglect of the shepherd? Now, a shepherd's job is to take care of all the sheep. He wouldn't have lost one. He would have been on his guard. And she also used an interesting example of taking, let's say, 100 pennies and just putting them in a pile on a table. Would you notice if one of them disappeared? The answer is no, you really would not. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, well, what happens if I took the 100 pennies and I put them in a 10 by 10 matrix? And that way I could see them all. So then if I turned my back and one of the pennies disappeared, I would know that I lost a penny. The obligation of the shepherd is what things are about. But I also thought that when the pennies were laying in the middle of the table, they were very disorganized. And how many of us have disorganized lives versus when it's in a matrix and it's pretty well structured? So perhaps the best thing to do to help me and to help you stay in touch with God is to have a structured life, that you know where all your pennies are lined up. So when I get up in the morning, I like to offer an opening prayer to God. Usually it's the Shema Yisrael prayer. And of course, at meals, I can offer the motzi. I just realized I had lunch about 20 minutes ago and I totally forgot to do it. So my life is still scattered. Now, for those of you who may be Christian, if you're Methodist, hey, that's what John Wesley did. He came up with a method. His pennies would have been in a matrix and not just a blob on the table. So if you can think about putting your life into some kind of order, then you can place God at the top of the order or at the top of the list. You should always put God in there first. Everything else should be secondary. And perhaps that's one of the things that Yeshua was trying to tell us, that we need to put God first by getting the rest of our lives in order so that we understand what's the most important and what isn't. Well, thanks for listening to this informal talk. And as always, shalom.